Welcome to Sisterhood Checkin. I am your author and coach, Nadira Lewis, and I am here with my amazing co-host, Latasha Gooden. Woo!
Welcome. Happy Friday.
Yes, and we are excited that you are here joining us here on Sisterhood Check-In on a Friday. I'm excited. We have an amazing guest lined up for you today. I cannot wait to dialogue with her and hear about all the wonderful things that God is doing in her life. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. If you are watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, make sure you click like and share if you're blessed by the content that you have been seeing. Now, Tasha, we had us a little problem the past couple of weeks with doing Sisterhood Check-In, but it is amazing. We have fixed the problem. Yes! And we have been doing amazing things on TikTok. So, guys, if you haven't been watching us on TikTok, you missed a treat, honey. Last week, we went in. So I'm excited. I can't wait to be able to share with you some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. But we're going to play this quick video. And when we come back, we're going to have our amazing guest, April Carter. We'll see you right after this.
Sometimes it's not enough to be reminded that Jesus hasn't left you or forgotten you. We need to declare it over ourselves, over others. No matter the season you may find yourself in, no matter the depths of darkness you're wading through, you can join him in declaring the truth. That God is light upon your feet, whether or not you can see the next step. That God is your strength, even though the weight of life seems to be crushing you down. And that when your job, your marriage, your relationship, your health feels like it's coming to a dead end, there is only one God that can make dead things live again. These are his promises, and they're the only thing you need to declare over your life. So as you step into this next season or this next moment, you can declare that God's not done with you. He's just getting started. You can declare that the good work that he has started in you, he will surely complete it. You can declare that the same God that parted the seas goes before you, goes behind you. You can declare these promises over your life, over your family's life, over the people passing on the street. You can declare these truths over every circumstance, over every season of your life. You can declare that every day belongs to him and every new breath belongs to him. Because we have the power of a living God living inside of us. And this is our declaration.
And welcome back. We are here again on Sisterhood Check-In, and Tasha and I are so excited to be able to have you back with us. Tasha, you want to go ahead and introduce our amazing guest for this evening?
I am so excited to be able to introduce this wonderful, phenomenal woman. I've known April for at least 12, 13 years, about around that time, if not a little more. And I tell you, she is the bomb. Like, one thing that we always look for, inviting guests onto the show, we look at actually the core values of a person. And one thing that really, touched me, right, to reach out to April is because since I've known her, she's been a woman of integrity. Like, she's really always been a woman of her word. And she stands in the paint for everything that she believes in. And I'm so excited for even everything that she's grown in as far as business, right? her personal life with her marriage, and she has her beautiful son, and just all of the things. Like, she is just that girl.
Woo,
So
thank you. Oh my gosh. Such
I'm
an
so excited, just to introduce her, like, just some of her little accolades, just a little bit, right? She is a certified, which means that she did the work to be a relationship coach. All right. She is certified. She's also a person that transforms people's lives through speaking, right? So if you need to call her, you're looking for someone to come and be a motivational speaker at an engagement, hey, she's that girl. Also, she's an amazing entrepreneur. So I needed some help, right? I'm introducing her. I really am, right? I needed some help with my business credit. And I called April. And April, it went so easy, right? She say, T, if you do it like this, it won't be a problem. She laid it out for me, and I was able to get 3 business lines of credit. So I'm just letting you guys know, even if you need help with getting your business credit started, like, she is just, she has really perfected her craft. Like, I've seen her, in situations to where she say, you know what, T, I'm just trusting God. And I've seen her still, in the midst of everything, hold her integrity. So without any further ado, I want to introduce to some, but I know her personally as my girl, AC April Carter. Welcome to Sisterhood Check-In.
Welcome.
Oh my goodness. That was such a freaking amazing introduction. I'm like, who's that? Is that? I'm like, wow, I did all that. But like, that sounds so good. But really, you know what? It's the truth. And when you lead with integrity and just be authentic and then also pay it forward, it comes easy to you, right? So somewhere along the line, somebody showed me how to do it. So I feel like it's my job, my obligation, just to teach what I learned. Because if we all teach one from what we learn, we are able to come together as a collective and grow even stronger, even more powerful. So thank you so much for those kind words. I'm so happy that I was able to help you out in that area. And I look forward to continue supporting you in any way that I can. So as you mentioned, I am April A. Carter, certified expert relationship coach. And what that means is that's just
my heart.
Yeah, oh, heart. Yeah, heart. Hearts, right. So that's a fancy term for a life coach that specializes in the realm of relationships. So unlike a therapist, a relationship coach as myself helps you move forward in your relationships by setting plans and setting goals. Whereas a therapist or a counselor, they go over some of the things of your past, the things that may have been holding you down. Whereas it's my job to help you look towards the future. How do we get past that and overcome to the next level of love in your relationship? So I'm super excited to be here tonight. Tonight, we are going to discuss a few things, primarily something that's really been, weighing on my heart that's not talked about enough. We're going to be talking about the dating do's and don'ts from a relationship standpoint. So, I know you guys are on social media, right? Social media is like dominating everything. But when you're on social media and you're listening to all of these relationship gurus or, just podcasts and things of that nature, a lot of them do have valid advice to offer, right? But rarely is it spoken from the standpoint of religion and how it affects you in your everyday life as a virtuous woman. So I would like to definitely dig into some of that tonight, if you ladies don't mind.
Yes, absolutely. I cannot wait. I'm excited. But before we get into some of the things that you do, April, because I know you've got some amazing, Tasha's spoken so great of you. Like, tell us, help the audience that is watching us that don't really know you. How did you become this awesome woman, this business woman that Tasha talked about? What happened in your life that brought you to where you are today?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say it started from pretty much childhood, ground zero, right? Where everything comes from. from childhood. So I am a natural born leader. I'm the oldest of 5 children. I'm from the Bronx, New York. And growing
I
up
can hear that New York inside of you. I'm from New Jersey. I can hear.
hey, my East Coast stuff, right?
Wait, Florida represent. Okay.
All right, can't leave Florida out. We're a little north, a little south, right?
There you
So,
go. There you go.
right, a little country, a little rock and roll. So, growing up in the Bronx, I never saw a happy, flourishing, and fulfilling relationship between a man and a woman. Nor so did I really see any marriages, right? So a lot of the people in my community, I grew up in the projects. Shout out to Marble Hill. I grew up in the projects of the Bronx, New York, and many of you may not know, but the projects were created for women and their children. If you had a man living in that household or something of that nature, they had to go, or you would lose your, your certification, if you will. So a lot of the families did not have husbands or did not have fulfilling relationships with where there were men, that you can see that every day. So my mom started out with just myself and my sister, but during her time there, she ended up meeting and getting with this guy, right? So he ended up being the father to my siblings, but throughout their relationship, it was very tumultuous, excuse me. It was a lot of domestic violence. It was a lot of drugs. It was just a lot of, circumstances that weren't fit for a child. So while I was growing up, I saw a lot of things that a child should not have seen. One thing primarily has stuck with me my entire life, and that was the domestic violence abuse that I witnessed, right? So seeing my mom being battered on the floor with just a bloody mouth, being choked out, almost losing consciousness, actually losing consciousness, and losing her bowels on herself, and just going through that whole thing, right? What I didn't realize at the time was that was hardening me. That was making my soul be removed so that I would be kind of numb to a lot of things, right? Numb to emotions, numb to feelings, and just numb to just men in general. I did not like men. I didn't want to be bothered with men. Not on that other side, but I mean in the fact of like relationships. I didn't feel like I can trust them or anything of that nature. I always said to myself, I would never be in a domestic violence relationship until I was. And I didn't know how I got there. But it was those steps and those learned behaviors that allowed me to enter into that relationship. So fast forward years later, I'm in this relationship that actually turned into a marriage. It's a domestic violence marriage. 12 years, my senior was my ex-spouse, and it was a lot of manipulation going on. Throughout that time, I just, I didn't feel good about myself. I felt as though because this man was 12 years older than me, he was the father figure that I never had. Because I didn't know and still don't know to this day my dad. And at the time, it was something that didn't bother me or so I thought until I growing up and just digging into those feelings and realizing, you know what, that does bother you. Why don't you know your dad, right? So those are just some of the things that shaped me to be who I am today. And once I ended that domestic violence marriage, I remember before the marriage ended, I would be crying. We would be kicking each other underneath the covers, and I would just be crying, looking out the window saying, you know what? This is not what I want. I have to get out of this. How am I going to do it? I didn't know, but I prayed to God. I prayed to God while I was in that same bed for my spouse that I didn't even know existed. I just prayed to be loved. I just prayed light, right? Because you love somebody, but how many times have you been in a situation where you don't even like the person, or the person doesn't even really like you? And when somebody doesn't like you. In familiar relationships, friendships, and you definitely know it in romantic relationships. So I just asked God that he give me somebody who likes me. So I ended that relationship and decided to, just focus on myself. I wrote a #1 best-selling book. And after that time, that's when I was able to meet and attract my husband.
Wow.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So since then, I decided to, just help other women who may need a little bit of guidance to help them, set up the strategies on some of the things that I did that they can use to shift their outcome and their relationship results.
Got you. Understandable. Wow. Domestic relationships is something that I understand all too well. I've been down that road, and I started as a very young girl at 16 being naive about just relationships, period. And so
Right.
and having to flee and live in different shelters, it was very it's like it kicked in this survival mode that I've had to struggle to get out of, even when I got married to my second husband that passed away. It was having to fight through that. Like you said, it's like that you deserve better, but when you have children and you're in that domestic situation, you start to kind of feel like you start to take yourself out of the picture, even though when you do that, you don't realize that you're devaluing yourself and your needs, but you take yourself out and you think, I'm going to be here for the family. I'm going to be here for the
Yeah.
kid. I'm going
You're
to be
taking
here
one for the team. Right.
taking one for the team, and literally. And not and it wasn't until after I got out of the marriage that I realized that I'm sorry about that. I had a call coming in at the same time. Not realizing until after I got out of the marriage that I started to realize, hindsight brings a lot of perspective, and you start to realize that, wait a minute, hold up, I do deserve better. And it was taking that time, those years, to really heal and see where the holes were that need to be filled, so that I can have when God comes in and he do bring, and did give me that opportunity to have a different spouse, a better spouse. I'll be able to not only recognize it, but I'll be able to appreciate it and don't self-sabotage the relationship. And so that was really important for me. And then I did. And it was like, even though we were only married for 5 years, he later died in a car accident. I still felt like, man, that first 2 years was a lot of stuff that I didn't even realize had triggered from the prior relationship. And my husband was so patient, and he was just would pray me through it. But even after he passed, I realized, wait a minute, man, God, I had the opportunity to know what it's like. I know what it's like now to have those holes filled, and to know what it's like to make sure that I understand and am aware of the value that I have and what I bring to a relationship. And it has nothing to do with what I have, but everything to do with the very essence of who God created me to be.
That's right. That's exactly who God created you to be. Because a lot of times, most of the time, we never see ourselves in his image. We see ourselves as that little girl, right? Or, just your family's past, or your mom's past, or just anything. You don't see yourself the way God sees you. And the more that we're able to do that, the better aligned that we are with his true outcome for our life.
Right. And even in my situation, coming from a different perspective, initially as a young girl, my father was in the household,
Okay.
but I experienced a divorce, right? And by me and my father being really close, when my father left the home, I experienced abandonment, right? So the abandonment caused me to look for love in all the wrong places. And then from there, my mom went into a relationship that was abusive. So from there, I was on the flip side, because I would fight him for my mother. So I ended up developing that strong protection type, demeanor, which at the same time I'm saying I would never trust a man, or a man would never do me like that. You know what I'm saying? Because, like Oprah, I'll kill him dead. That was my thought process, but that developed that lack of trust for relationships, which allowed me not to give the way that I should have in having a full relationship, right? Because I had all these walls protecting things that I felt I needed to protect, because of what I saw growing up. And that's how I experienced my first love with my father. And then with the second man that was supposed to be, stepping into that role, it was damaging because I saw a lot of abuse. So
it was tough, right? So it sounds like we all have similarities as well as differences. But the one thing that I noticed that stood out with all of us is into your new relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Infringing that upon the person who never even harmed you or never even did those type of actions to you, still having to prove their love for you, right?
Yeah.
So when I got into that new relationship, that relationship that wasn't toxic, I didn't know how to communicate in a non-toxic way.
Mm.
I didn't know how to communicate with love and kindness in my voice because that's not the background that I came from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're at fault, but also can you be at fault for just not knowing? You know how they say if you know better, you do better, but if you don't know better, how do you do better? And that's what, where you came in, right? You just said I needed to learn and work on myself, Nadira. I needed to learn how to focus on me and what is it that I need to do. I needed to go back to the drawing board. So I think once we go back to the drawing board, I think that is the great place to start. But
Mm-hmm.
how do you know that you need to go back to the drawing point? Drawing point. That is what trips up a lot of us, not just women, but also men as well, because
Mm-hmm.
we're so hard trying to fight the friction between where we want to go and where we've been. But you can't have your past and your present, right? So
Yes.
you have to decide, where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Do you want to leave that old life behind? Do you want to be loved with intention? Do you want to
Right.
be loved with dignity in order to move forward? But the moment that you choose that you do want to be loved with intention and dignity, that's when it's time to do some soul searching and be honest with yourself. Be realistic with yourself, because we don't like the truth, right? Sometimes we don't like what we see in the mirror. Yeah, you may look beautiful, you may have on your lipstick, but I'm talking about internally.
Yes. Yes.
Because the
Yes.
truth hurts, right?
The truth does hurt. The truth does
Mhm.
hurt, right? When you realize that you are mean, when you realize that, you're angry, when you realize that you're bitter, when you realize that you have a nasty attitude, just all of those things that may be blocking your love chakras, that may be blocking your personality, that may be blocking your aura from receiving the person that God has for you.
And I think
So,
too, a lot of it has to do is being able to, most of the time, especially in nowadays, we jump from relationship to relationship. So we use relationships to heal hurt and pain. And
definitely.
we don't take the time that's needed for God to do the work in us so that we can see and reflect and say, okay, what did I learn from this relationship? What is it about me that I failed to pick up? Because in the beginning, most of the times from my experience, the red flags that you tend to ignore in the beginning tends to be the reason why you break the relationship in the end. Because what
Oh,
happens is our desire is, oh, we're using people to fill our voids and not allowing. And when you hungry, ever think about when a person they're hungry, right? You
mhm,
eat anything. When you hungry, you shove everything in to fill that void, that hunger, right? So
definitely.
when you're eating any and everything, you don't always get nutritional benefits or value from everything that you eat. And some things make you sick, right? Some traumas and things that you've gone through in your life makes you feel sick, makes you ill. And so if you connect with somebody and you haven't at least taken the time to say, okay, wait a minute, let me slow down and let me
Right.
figure out what areas of my life that I'm contributing to another person's life. But if you are still battling trauma at the core, because we all have things that we struggle with, but if your
Sure.
trauma is still active, like that, active and breeding, and I told Tasha this, we had a conversation. I said, we always look at the people who are toxic in our life, but we don't understand that we're just as toxic when we
Mm,
entertain those relationships, especially long term. So we don't tend to look at ourselves as being toxic too. We look at other people. You're toxic because of what you've done to me, what you've presented to me. That makes you toxic, but it makes you toxic too because you attracted that. You not only attracted it, you entertained it, and you continuously continue a cycle of entertaining the same type of people because you have not. It's almost like Tasha and I were talking earlier about when a dog pee on your carpet, right? When a dog pee
mhm.
on your carpet, the scent of that toxicity is still there.
It's
The
there,
scent.
right.
So
Right.
until you remove the scent, right? The stench that's there, guess what? Another dog gonna pee in the same spot because it's familiar.
Mhm.
It's
It's
familiar.
familiar, and that's what you attract. And that it all just always boils down to self-reflection, self-awareness.
Right.
Self-reflection and self-awareness, because there are things that you can actually change, right? You can change your mindset, you can change the way you look, you can change your habits, but it all starts where? With yourself, with self-reflection, acknowledging that you absolutely want to change those things. Otherwise, that door's going to keep peeing in that same part, same spot, and you're going to keep meeting those same type of men because it's what you are attracting for sure.
Absolutely.
And not only what you're attracting, you're going after your preference opposed to your
Mm,
purpose.
talk about it, T. Talk about it.
You're you're not going after what you need, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
going after what you want. And
mm,
those wants sometimes put you into a situation to where you
mm,
said, you know what? Why did I do that? So me, what I'm doing now is I'm changing my perspective opposed to going for my preference, right? I'm
Right.
mm.
saying, God, send me what I need, right? Because your need is more important because he says in his word that he will supply our every need according
Mm,
to his riches and glory, right?
mm,
Correct.
So a lot of times we're so into what we want. And I
mm,
think one of the things that we need to kind of take a closer look at is, what do I really need? And that's a
mm.
part of your heart posture. Like you
Yes.
got to really examine like what's in your heart. You know what I mean? Because a lot of us we pump what we know. You know, I'm from the project. You know, this is what I saw. Hey, this is what I like. I like that hood dude. You know, I don't even want a guy in a suit. Like I had my whole lineup. You know what I'm saying? Like, boy, hey, that was my dude. But at
Right.
the end of the day, he treated me exactly like that. You know
The
what I
way
mean? And I'm looking like, that's not really me. But you're going after a preference opposed to your purpose, and you know
Mm,
what you really need in order to elevate you to be that woman.
that's
So
yes.
true.
that I think that's important.
That is definitely important. And then sometimes I want to put a spin on that, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's not what you want, right? You want the guy that treats you nice. You want the guy that opens the doors, but that want that you think is a want may just be something that is familiar. And
Mm-hmm.
familiarity breeds content because you
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
want somebody who's going to treat you nice, right? But that may not be the person that matches, that hood dude, like you said, right? So everybody has a different type of trait. So you want somebody who treats you nice, but you're not familiar with that. So you automatically go back to what you're familiar to, with your familiar
Mm-hmm.
with, rather. And so, like your wants. So, actually, in my book, The Compatible Companion, there is a segment on that, knowing your WNDCs, because a lot of times we start dating in relationships where you don't understand your WNDC. So your W is what Tasha mentioned, it's your wants, but not just what do you want out of, from a man, what do you want in that relationship? How would you be fulfilled in that relationship? And then your N is your needs. What separates your wants and your needs? Your needs are your must have. And then the D, those deal breakers. So for many of us, we don't know our deal breakers until we actually get in the relationship. But I like to explain deal breakers as, what would you end the relationship for if you had the perfect marriage, the white picket fence, the house, the kid, the dog? What would you end the relationship for, or even not even enter into the relationship for? That is considered your deal breaker. For some,
Okay.
for some people, adultery is not a deal breaker, right? But be honest with yourself. What are those deal breakers? What would cause you to end it all, shut it down? I'm done. And then your C, your compromises. We don't talk about compromising enough. Everybody wants what they want on their wish list, right? But what are you willing to compromise on? And I don't just mean
I've
materialistic things.
mm-hmm.
Got
I'm
you.
sorry, April. Go ahead. I was
Yes.
going to say, and you know what? Love is compromise
Mm-hmm.
because you have to be willing to give yourself, right, to someone selflessly, right? Because now
And that's
your
so
whole
hard.
position, that whole position has changed because now you're not single anymore to where you're focusing on God, you're doing your thing, you're living your best life, but now you have to surrender to another person. And that compromise is very important. And some people take compromise as, oh, he's trying to tell me what to do, or she's trying to rule the house, or this or that. No, compromise is a sign of love because I'm willing to give myself, right? Just like Jesus gave himself for us, we have to be able to give ourselves, submit yourself, husbands, they should love us, as Christ loved the church. And there's just some things that we don't, compromise enough. And I feel like compromising is a real strength. But again, going back to childhood, going back to how you were taught, we were never taught to compromise. Either the woman is ruling the house or the man is out of the house. So, where is the compromise?
There is no compromise.
That's
there never used to be a compromise, but when you know better, you do better, right? So I also equate compromising, Tasha, with sacrificing, because when you compromise, somebody's going to have to sacrifice. It's never, a lot of times when you compromise, it's not 50-50. Although the word would make you think so, right? Sometimes you're going to get that 80 and he's going to get that 20 and vice versa. So how do you sacrifice but both of you still be happy in the middle? So for me, what I want to tell a lot of the viewers is that when you're dating and, you're living your romantic life through a religious standpoint, you definitely have to pray and seek guidance, whether it's when you guys are making a decision together or even before you enter the relationship. So you need to focus on wisdom and guidance so that you can seek God in your daily life and make sure that the decision that you're making of who you attach yourself to is a decision from God. Because a lot of times, y'all, we moving in these relationships and we get upset when it doesn't work out, but God didn't tell you to do that.
Right. And I think too, is when we're a kid, we're trained how to do and be everything to everybody else, but we have not learned how to even appreciate or even know the things or even ignore the things that we want, because it's always go do this for your dad, go do this for your sister, go do this for your brother. So what happens is you grow up, you learning how to be a mother, you're learning how to do things for other people. Here, give me this doll, baby. Nobody is teaching you how to be or how to develop who you are before you connect yourself to somebody else. And so what happens is we all go through this trial and error thing where we're dating at a young age and we're tripping up in relationships because 9 times out of 10, because we're coming from toxic families that have been toxic in their relationships, we mimic what we see. And so for me, I think what I've learned in this season of my life is I'm finding out what is it, who is Nadira? And what does it look like to really be in a relationship with me first? And so when I figure out what I like and what I don't, because before people used to ask me, well, what do you want in a relationship? And I would be like, oh, dang, I never really thought about that, because I'm so used to saying what I can bring to the table. I get the table,
Yeah, I'm all defensive, right.
So busy telling and I start out with saying what I don't want. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want that. And it's not until recently that I began to sit down and say, what is it that you need to make you be healthy and show up in a relationship healthy? What is it that you need so that you can be able to be healthy and be able to contribute to a relationship and not be the taker all the time, right? So what I found out is I started to realize, no, that does bother me. I used to sacrifice what bothered me for the sake of peace. I want you to, I don't want you to
rock the boat. Yeah.
I don't want to rock the boat. And so then I started to look back and be like, no, I realized I don't like that, and no, it does matter to me. Tasha and I were talking about it the other day about our core needs, and I realized my core need is I need to know that you care for my well-being. That's right. I need to know that when I'm in the midst of you, I need to not only hear it, but I need to feel it. I need to know that at the end of the day, the core of who I am, the well-being, my emotional, my physical, my financial, that you care about me as a person, not about what I can do for you in the bedroom, right? Because I can hold it down if I really.
I know that's right.
I'm toot my horn, but let me tell you something. I ain't got kids for nothing. Okay.
Okay.
So so it's like so I had a little brief connect moment, right? But
Come back.
but the reality is that I had to realize who I am is not what I do. It is what I do is a result of who I am.
You are right.
So the more I start to discover who I am and really slow down, because we move when we're young, we move in fast pace. You know, I want you, you want me, let's get it, let's go.
Yeah, we together, right?
You know, and coming from a lifestyle, I grew up in New Jersey, girl. We get what we want, we get it. We don't wait for nobody to do it. Ain't nobody finna tell me no. We got this, right? So now I'm slowing down and I'm starting to realize, okay, Nadira, what is it that you really need? What do you really need? Who? And then I realized, oh shoot, I have to take time to discover that. And so I did that. I started to discover this is what I like. This is what I need. This is what I need to show up. So when I give myself, when I care for me more than anybody else cares for me, then when you show up, I get to determine if what your version of love looks like is something that reflects who I am. Can you come in and add to who I am? I'm not now. You might have more physical things to me. You might have you might have a bigger house than me. You might have, a better car than me. But the core and the essence of who I am is what's going to make me valuable in this relationship to you. But if you don't know who you are in terms of being aware of what God has placed on the inside of you that makes you valuable, then you're going to look for the other person to fulfill that. And that's where people are having a problem, because it's like, I thought you said you love me. Well, if you love yourself, you would be able to recognize that ain't love. You have to ask people, what is your, we have to do our vetting process. What do you consider to be love? How do you love?
What is your love language?
What's your love
Absolutely.
language? And then just to add on to what Nadira said, right? When you don't know what you want, when you don't know what you need, guess what? They will tell you. They will tell you. They will put that on you. And then now you're doing and living the way they want you to. And that's where the strife comes in. Because you didn't know who you were, you didn't know what you wanted, you didn't know what you needed. So it's kind of like, how like you guys go on a cruise, right? You're out there, the ocean is so vast, the ocean is so big. Consider yourself a cruise ship, or a Lady Liberty, or any type of ship that you want to be named, right? If you as a ship does not have a destination, you'll never reach your port of call.
Wow.
Just be aimlessly floating. And that's how it is when you don't know who you are, what you want, and what you need out of a relationship. You're constantly floating and aimlessly dating, looking for something, but you don't know what it is because you haven't figured that out just yet. So
one of the things, April, the hot verbiage now is that, hey, I'm just going with the flow.
You go with the flow.
And
even the water got a destination. Even the flow has a destination.
Right. The water, right? Which way are we going? So I know a lot of people, and I'm a little toss up between two, right? So you definitely want to go with the flow as in some instances, right? So going with the flow means still knowing what you want, know what you need in a relationship, but going with the flow when you first meet somebody, maybe the first date or second date, you're going with the flow as opposed to what are we doing? Where are we going? How are we do? Like, what is like all of those type of, I would say, male domination characters, right? Because when you meet somebody, when you're dating somebody, the goal is to just have fun, enjoy each other's company. Now, when you go on to that fourth date, at that point, that's when you need to say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm seeking. Is that what you are looking for as well? And also, always make it an open-ended question, not a closed-end question. Allow the dialogue to flow back and forth. Because when you answer when you give them the option to say yes or no, it's going to be yes. They always want what you want. They always want what you want, but that is just the foolery to get you to go the way they want to actually go. So just ask those open-ended questions, right? So go with the flow in that sense, because a lot of times we're going with the flow. When you don't go with the flow in that sense, Tasha, you are met with friction, right? It becomes combative. It becomes argumentative. It becomes things that, hey, we're not there yet. We're just dating. We only had a date or two. Why are we talking about such harsh things right now? Why are you worried because I didn't call you 5 days in a row? So those are the type of the things that you have to kind of like just use your discernment, which is one of the don'ts as well. Just use your discernment. You don't want to get mad to everybody, but you do want to make them aware that you are dating for lasting love and commitment.
And one of the things that Nadira and we've been really talking about right now is a lot of people aren't using the gift of discernment, right? They go into it just very casual. And, one of the things with discernment is you have to listen loudly, right? You have to listen, right? In the communication, you have to listen loudly enough to say, okay, is this something, because that kind of fills in the blanks with the WNDC, right? The more that you begin to spend time with that person, you'll say, okay, that either falls under the W, the N, the D, or the C, right? But if you're not going into it with discernment, right? Your discernment should be on max. You know what I mean? Especially if you're a person that's looking for, you know what I mean, that commitment forever, right? Because everybody has their interpretation of what's commitment. Some people say, I want a life partner. You got to go deep and say, what is a life partner to you?
Yeah,
you know what
and
I mean?
like that should not be confusing at all between
Right.
commitment, right? Because sometimes, like for instance, I'm going to a wedding coming up in the next few weeks, right? These people have been kind of off again, on again for over 25 years. So what that means though is that now age is setting in. Now illnesses are setting in. So what is the commitment? What did that commitment look like 25 years ago versus today, and why now? So the point that I'm getting at is if you don't set up some type of commitment standpoint, then you will just be committed strong along on any type of way they see fit, right? Because commitment, Tasha, could be, oh well, we're living together. Commitment could be, oh well, you're my number one, meaning you might have other people on the side, right? Who's might be number 2, 3, and 4. So what is
absolutely?
Get strict upon your guidelines and go for what you want. I always tell ladies that dating is about you. It's about 3 things, right? It's about who you choose, why you choose that person, and why you stay in the relationship with that person.
That's great, April. That hit home. Like, ouch. And another thing is, even myself, right? Before I came to, where I am now, I always went into the relationship. Oh, that's going to be my husband. I didn't ask the who, the what, the when, the why. I don't know where you come from. I don't know your mama. None of that stuff. And
you manifested, right? You just
girl, I'm just all in, right? As time went on, like I say, listening loudly, he already told me what time it was. Really, he said, I'm not looking to be married. I don't want this. I don't want any more kids. Like, I'm not willing to do this or that. And, I'm still working on me, and, I'm still trying to, live my best life. So, because I already said, oh, girl, that's my husband.
Right.
That means that, oh, girl, I might can change him. He's potential.
Right.
You spend more time working on him, trying to drag him into something, and you're like, wait, I lost myself in this.
Right.
And this is not even because you decided to say, okay. And then that led you to something that in the end, you saying, dang, I compromised me.
Yeah. You compromised you. And what else did you do? You wasted time, which is a valuable asset. You
Absolutely.
can't get that back. So right now, there's somebody watching this show who has wasted so many years in the wrong relationship and didn't have the opportunity to have children because they wasted it in the wrong relationship. Something happened during those childbearing years, but now this person is unable to have children because they wasted so much time. Women, we are only allotted a certain amount of time to bear children. Men, that's what they can do, right? They can do it up until whenever, right? But for us, we have to be strategic and aware of what we really want for our life. So going back to what you said, Nadia, about knowing what you want, excuse me, Tasha said that, knowing what you want, knowing what you need, and then being honest and true with yourself by looking internally. And now when we're at the ages where we're doing that soul searching, for some of us, we might have regrets because of the time that we wasted. So understanding that your time is absolutely limited in both ways. So the time is limited in your childbearing years, and then the time that you waste in the wrong relationship is the time that you're taking away from living in the right relationship.
Right. Right. I want to take some time to acknowledge some of our viewers that have been commenting, that have been participating in the conversation. Sarah Roberts said, "Good evening to you." Good evening, Sarah. Thank you for watching us. Let
Hi,
us know in the
Sarah.
comments. Let us know in the comments how you feel. Um,
Yeah.
let us know how you feel, and if you have any contribution to this, and if you have any questions for our guests, for our relationship coach, for April Carter, I put a link at the bottom where you can actually click on that link, and we can bring you on screen. So if you want to ask her a question. Also, I want to say thank you for watching to Khadija. Khadija says, "Hey," she says she's watching, and she said, "God dang." Into some of the things that we were saying, and she also is agreeing with what we're saying. So if you guys have something that you want to ask our guest coach here, just don't be afraid, don't be scared. Come up here and click that link, and we'll be happy to take your questions for April. April, I have a question for you, and before we
Absolutely.
go into break. Since have you noticed that in this day and time, right? And I know that you're married now, so you don't have the same, you still understand because this is your line of work. And I'm
Right.
sure that you have people that come to you with the same thing. Would you say that this season and this era that we in, that people are relationship exhausted?
Well, I like that question. Here's why, right? Because I get it from both ends of the spectrum. I get it from the people who absolutely love to date, they're eager to date, and they want relationships. And then I also get the feedback from the people who are just totally burnt out. And what I say to that is some might be exhausted, but not everybody is exhausted. So I want you to date like you want to find your mate. Not everybody is exhausted with dating. Somebody is waiting and looking for their mate. That somebody is you. So if you give up now, you're never going to meet that request of having that romantic, fulfilling relationship and partnership. So a lot of us people, humans, we're living to be 100, 102, 103. Every day on the news, you see somebody celebrating a milestone of 100 plus years on this earth, right? So when you do the math, if you're in your 40s, 50s, or even 60s, that means that's 60 more years that you could possibly live being alone. You weren't meant to be alone. You were meant to live your life with companionship. So, yes, dating may be exhausting, but it's not exhausted, which means that all of your options are gone. It's not. Open up your pool of your dating pool. You can date you if you don't want to date outside of your race. There are so many people to choose from within your race, right? So if you're a Caucasian, you can date from all parts of the European hemisphere, right? You can date Scandinavian, you can date Australian, you can date French. If you're black and you want to stay in that dating spectrum of black people, you don't want to date internationally, you can still date Jamaicans, you can still date Africans, you can still date Haitians, Belize. It's not always all boiled down to the US of A. just Black people, or just, so expand your dating pool. And if you don't mind dating internationally, meaning, against in different races, open that up as well, because you will never know what you like or don't like, or what your wants and needs are, if you don't try it. Allow yourself the opportunity to just give yourself a chance. Everything has not been exhausted just yet. So yes, to answer your question, it can be exhausting, but it is not exhausted.
So we have a question
And
here for Gail. Gail wants to know, how do you know when you meet your soulmate?
Oh, that's an easy question. You know when you met your soulmate, when you don't have to ask that question.
Mm.
When
Mm.
there is, yeah, you automatically know, right? So when you don't have any contention, when
Mm.
you don't have any arguments, when you don't have to go to counseling and marriage counseling in the beginning of the relationship, or even, a year throughout the relationship, you know when you met your soulmate, when the relationship is easy. It's easy. Now, don't confuse your soulmate with just a good friend, because that can be confusing too, right? You might find somebody that you are compatible with, and it kind of, you guys are having fun. But friend versus, the opposite sex, or not platonic, romantic friend versus platonic friend, is that you will know when the chemistry is there. That will be the physical chemistry, the sexual chemistry, as opposed to if this person is just a soulmate as far as relationships, romantic relationships. Because soulmates can be good friends as well. It could be, but soulmate can be a girlfriend. A soulmate can be, a man that doesn't have any type of romantic feelings about you as well. So just, be aware of those things.
also, if I can add to that, how do you know when you meet your soulmate? Also, that's going to be a person that's suitable for you, right?
Compatible, right?
The compatibility has to be there. Like, you guys have to get in and, really expound on the purpose, not for just the woman, but for the man too. Our job is to help meet the need, right? In the relationship. So what is the definition of soulmate to you? And sometimes we have to be careful with like using trendy words and things like that to really get to the core of what am I really wanting? What am I really looking for? What is my expectation? Because
Right.
technically there's a lot of people that we can connect with, right? But again, is that person suitable for you? Are you looking at the present with this person, or are you looking for a lifelong relationship or commitment?
Right. And then let me piggyback on that, right? So I want to make sure that when you're looking for compatibility, that you are
Mm-hmm.
not confusing it with commonality.
Mm.
Let me say
That's
that again.
good. That's
Compatibility
good.
does not always mean commonality. So what that
Explain what
means,
that means. Yeah,
okay,
explain that.
let's talk about it, right? So sometimes
Let's talk
people
about it.
are excited because they meet somebody who loves the same music that they do,
Mm-hmm.
who
Mm-hmm.
likes the same food that they do, who enjoys
Mm-hmm.
plays. Those things are something that you have in common.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean that you guys are compatible.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so be on the lookout for that as well. Commonality does not always mean compatibility,
Mm.
because
Wow.
that can throw you off too. Now, you know what I mean? You're like, oh wow, girl, he loves what I like and he does what I do, and just now
Mm.
you in the relationship with somebody just because you guys have similar interests in common, and
But
it's not the
what would you
word.
say compatibility looks like? I know you said commonality is when you like the same things, but as a relationship coach, what would you say to that person that says, and we're gonna get to the next question, Lenitra. Thank you for asking your question, Gail. We're gonna get to your question, Lenitra, also. But my question, my thing I want to ask you is, how does a person, what will be considered the right compatibility when it comes to what you do as an expert? How would you answer that?
Sure, that's a great question. Well, first, you have to know if that person is right for you. So compatibility means, are you guys evenly yoked, right? Let's take it back to the basics. Are you evenly yoked? So just because you guys like the same things, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not compatible, right? But compatibility looks like, okay, well, when I'm high and intense, he's able to calm me down and make sure that I understand the end result, right? So meaning that we reflect each other, we complete each other, we complement each other's style, we complement the way we work together, we work well together, we are compatible in the sense of how we raise our children, how we want to raise our children. We have the same like-minded end goals. The end goals that we want to reach are the same. We are on the same page in that sense. So it doesn't mean maybe that, we are both, people that like to party. Maybe one likes to party and the other one doesn't. That can still mean you're compatible. The compatibility lies with how you both see yourself as a unit, how you both see yourself in the end result of those things. What are your life goals, your life purposes? What are your norms that you see for yourself? What is the familiar structure? Do you guys both believe in having, the same type of religion? Do you like both having family discussions? Are you both into the family unit? Do you respect your mother? All of those things, the things that you consider your core values, that person has those same core values as well.
Absolutely. And now Lenitra wants to know, hello, sunshines. And we want to thank April Carter for taking the time out and just really just answering and being here as a professional relationship coach. Thank you, April, I just wanted to stop in the middle and just let you know how much we appreciate the value that you bring to Sisterhood Check-in and helping us understand relationships better. So now Lenitra wants to know, which online dating platforms would you recommend to meet someone?
Oh, well, you know what? I love RBL. It's called Real Black Love. And I love RBL because they have 100,000. They have such a huge database.
Okay.
And within that database, because, there's still a lot of people, right? But what I like about them is that you have to be accepted into the organization. So you have to go through a vetting process before you even are allowed to be on their platform. Everybody on that dating platform has been handpicked and approved by the creator and the owner of RBL. Wow. So you need to start there. And then what I also like about it is that they have a free platform, but also if you're willing to invest your time and your money, they have the opportunity for you to use the paid program, which is maybe like $20-something a month for that. But then and when you're really serious about love and finding somebody, they also have the premier matchmaking as well. So they give you different opportunities to meet your real black love on their platform. And they have so many different testimonials and people that have gone through their process, met on their dating apps, that have been happily married and are still married today.
Wow.
Oh man, boy, you just stirred up the pot. Ooh, with that religion and dating sites. Ooh, I know she ain't going on no dating site. Girl, you ain't saved. You don't love the Lord.
No, well, let's talk about that, right? Because that's a big stigma too. That is a big stigma, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, if it wasn't in God's will, the apps would not have been created. God brings people together. There are so many people that have met and married, and I know a ton that have met and married through these platforms that had not been created. You wouldn't get the opportunity to meet somebody right in your living room who's maybe right down the block, but you will never have the opportunity to meet them. So yes.
And it doesn't mean you have to build it. What most people don't understand and have the misconception. Thank you so much, Gail. Yes.
Thank you. That's my sister.
Yes. And Lenitra, thank you so much for your comment. I think what people misunderstand about dating online is that dating online is like meeting people in the street too. You don't have any, at least online, they have to have some sort of conversation, or there has to be a conversation, but I think you have to practice good communication skills whether you're online or whether you're out and about, because either way, you're not going to build that relationship online. You're just meeting online. The goal is to meet online, right? Like you would if you met them in the mall or met them at your
That's
job
right.
or met them. The goal is not to have a online relationship. The
Right.
online
Take it
dating
offline.
platforms are just a place to meet and greet, and then it gives you an opportunity to decide in the conversation if I want to take this past the dating. Do I want to take this off the platform? I think what happens is there's so much talk about, especially we watch too much TV,
Yes.
and there is a lot of realistic things that take place in life that can happen whether you in the mall meeting somebody. But people are there's so much taboo about online this, the internet this, the internet that. And the internet is just like anything. There's a positive and there's a negative. You have to know, okay, when I'm going on these sites, what am I looking for? Right. And when you begin to build these conversations with people, you have to have intentional conversations. When you are having intentional, and I'm not talking about going to the table, I want to be married, and if you don't marry me by tomorrow, this
That's
is what
that
it is.
going with the flow part,
Okay.
right? We talked
Okay,
about that. Go
no,
with the flow.
it's
Go with the
being
flow.
intentional and saying, okay, what are you looking for? The hard conversations that Tasha and I were talking about one time, having that, being able to ask the questions like, hey, what are you looking for? You don't have to go in with a mean list of stuff. Like if you don't do X, Y, you don't fit 6 of these 7 of things and you're X'd out. No, it's getting to kind of know a person and saying, okay, what are you looking for? Right? Because as women, we shouldn't be looking for relationships anyway. We should be positioning ourselves, right, to be
Yeah, let's pause on that for a minute, Nadira. So while you're there, let's talk about it. We're asking what they are looking for. We should never ask that. We should always enter the conversation with, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. This is where I see myself. Is that something you want as well? Where do you see yourself? How do you see yourself in that type of aspect? Right?
Okay.
Because when we ask them what they're looking for, or vice versa, when they ask us what we might be looking for, you're kind of taken off guard. And the purpose of dating with my help as a relationship coach is to give you that power back, the power of a woman. Men are chasers, right? Their job is to chase and court you. The roles have been reversed and flipped in this new generation. So you allow them to court you. You tell them what you're looking for. And if they can step up to the plate and offer you that, so be it. If not, allow them to bow out gracefully. So while you're on these dating apps, yes, you want to definitely have a good time. You want to meet people, but the dating apps allow you to actually nurture and develop that relationship before you even decide if you want to actually see this person. So a lot of times we feel like we are the cat's meow, the cat's pajamas, all of those things. Well, he's just going to automatically want to go out with me. No. After having a conversation or two with you, he may not even like you. But sometimes we don't even, we don't think that's a possibility. So we put it all on him. So allow yourself, when you're on these dating apps, to nurture your relationships through phone calls, not the text messages, but through the phone calls.
Right.
But do not stay on the dating app for longer than a week. Your goal is to get off the dating app. And when you're on these dating apps, the benefit is that you get the opportunity to do a little bit of recognizance, incognito stuff on the person that you're dating before you even meet them. So you can do a little bit of research on them. You can make sure that they are who they say they are. Make sure they send you a picture. When you're dating offline, when you take the date offline, make sure you meet in a public place. Make sure your girlfriends have your phone number of where you're going. Make sure they know the address of where you're going. Make sure you take your own car. And also, you can even take an Uber or something of that nature if you don't want the person to know what kind of car you're driving. If some of those things are prohibiting you from going to online dating. So we can't be scared. We have to, like we talked about earlier, use our discernment when dating and choosing. So going back to what Nadira said, the more you know yourself, the more you understand who you are as a woman and where you are in this life now, you got to trust that you will make the right decisions when picking somebody.
I have a question for you, April.
Yes.
Nadira, you can chime in. At the end of, when you meet a guy, do you believe that it's the woman's choice
What do
to
you mean?
proceed?
Oh.
So example, when you meet a guy, right?
Mhm.
You know, the first thing we're gonna say is, ooh, because you know, we're still physical creatures, you know, we still look at people like, I like him. But once you get to know that person, right? At the end of the process to where you guys decide to commit, do you feel like it's, you know, predominantly the woman's choice, or what is your perspective on that?
Oh no, my perspective is that it is both parties' choices, because you cannot choose somebody who doesn't want to be chosen and vice versa. So I remember I was dating a while ago, back in the day, right? And the guy I was dating broke up with me. And I was like, "What? You just can't break up with me like that?" And I'm like, "Hold on, wait a minute. What? No, come on now. We too far in this." And he looked at me. He was like, "Well, what you gonna do about it?" And I looked back. I was like, "Oh, I guess nothing." You know, I didn't say that out loud, but really, what are you gonna do about
You didn't get my permission to exit this relationship.
Yeah, right. So he's like, and you know, so you have to it has to be agreed upon by two people to actually enter. The exit, that's something totally different. But to enter into the relationship, it takes two people. That's why a lot of times you see people in relationships where you could tell the other person is not into them like that. It takes two people. For sure.
What are some of those indicators that we as single women should look for when, you know, we it can help us determine if a man is into us or if he is moving, you know, towards the commitment stage?
Sure.
And before you answer that question, April, I want you to pin that question. That's a really good question. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to allow you to answer that question. So for all of you that are watching, make sure you tell your friends, call them up and tell them Sisterhood Checkin. We got a relationship coach, April Carter, here with us, and we'll be right back.
AC.
Help me to trust him again with my heart and not be scared, looking over my shoulder when it comes to his actions because I felt betrayed by him. Help me to trust his good intentions towards me.
You know, there's seasons that our gifts operate and flowing. There's seasons. And if you miss your season or your moment, your gift may not be no longer useful. Because if he called a generation to ask a question or to need something in a specific season, and he birthed you for that season, you're useless if you don't operate in your season.
Listen, Nadira, listen. You're doing it again. You're doing it again. Now you do it.
May not be physically with you.
They're in your church.
But I am sitting next to you.
Different face.
Different name. Same story, though, that goes like this.
I've done some terrible things in my life.
Some of them I chose to do.
And I own these choices.
But others, I just feel like I was swept up in a series of circumstances that didn't involve my will.
They just sort of happened to me.
I've become the culmination of those choices and circumstances.
So I guess I just need to say it.
I really need some help.
Hello, my name is Thomas Taylor III, CEO of TaylorYourDreams.com. I actually help individuals expand their vision past their current reality so they can live the life that they dreamed of. If that's you, you can reach out and actually have a free consultation. But until then, go ahead and make it a great day.
Hi, I'm Nadira, author, life, and business coach, and founder of the Becoming a Woman of Proverbs Wisdom Academy, and also the founder of the Sisterhood Checkin podcast. I help women take their life experiences and turn them into life lessons for others. Book a call with me at www.womanofproverbscoaching.com. And I'll see you on the other side. Have an amazing day.
All right, and we are back here at Sisterhood Check-In with our amazing special guest, Miss April Carter, relationship coach and transformational leader in our community. She has been really just encouraging us and giving us some amazing advice in regards to relationship do's and don'ts. And April, before we went into the commercial, Tasha was asking a question. So Tasha, did you want to re-ask that question for those of you that may have not heard it?
All right.
And we're going to go ahead and continue. So make sure you call up your girlfriends and tell them it's on tonight. We got April on tonight. She is going to help us ladies.
That's right. And put your questions in the chat. I'm here for all of the questions. Your question might help another person that is watching the Sisterhood Check-In. So do not be shy. Ask your questions. There is no silly questions. I want to make sure that I'm giving you all of the information so that you can start using it to improve and empower your love life. So before we went on to break, Latasha asked, she wanted to know, what are some of the signs that you can look out for to know if somebody is really into you? So that's a good question. That is a good question, because a lot of times we confuse the signs, right? We're in our own head playing out different things, and then you call your girlfriend and they like, girl, well, that means so-and-so, but no, listen to the expert. This is what I'm going to tell you. So one of the first things that you can know to decide if he likes you or not, or if he's into you or not, is, does he initiate things? Anything. Does he initiate phone calls with you? Does he initiate dates with you? Does he initiate paying for anything when he's with you? Just initiate. So if somebody likes you, they want to take that, that first step. They want to make sure that they have you before anybody else, right? So what I mean is, as far as your attention, your presence, not physical, right? But your attention, your presence, they want you all to themselves. They want to make sure that you are being taken care of. So write that down. They want to know if you are taken care of by somebody else, or if they can do that for you by initiating those things, phone calls, just anything that they can initiate. Or are you the one that's always calling? Are you the one that's always asking to go out and making reservations? Are they doing that for you as well? So initiating. The second thing is that introductions. Are they introducing you to the people that are close to them in their lives? Are they introducing you to family and friends? And I don't just mean, the regular people who might just be at the house. I'm talking about people who are super important in their life. Are they introducing you to their children, to their grandchildren? Are they introducing you to the pastor? Who are they introducing you to, if any? Because sometimes we're in these secret relationships.
Come on now.
Right. Come on. You just at the house with them. You at the crib, y'all just watching TV, doing whatever, cooking and everything, right? But nobody really knows about you. And if you ask him about that, guess what? He's like, oh, well, now might not be the right time. Or I don't bring anybody. One that I always hear is, I don't bring anybody around to meet my mother or my grandmother. Wait a minute. Don't just hit me with that. So again, we're going back to using your discernment, ladies. If it doesn't sound right, it's not right. So we got initiating and introductions. The next thing is futuristic. Are they speaking futuristic in your presence? What does that mean? That means, are they talking about things that they want to do with you in the future? Using verbiage like, when we get our house next year, or next year when we're going on vacation, or my brother is getting married in 6 months. I want you to come with me. Anything in the future. Do they see themselves with you months from now, years from now? How would you know that? If they're speaking about it. But if you ask about something, later on in the future, or 6 months or whatever, and they say, oh, well, I don't know, I got to let you know, that's a hint. Okay. So we got initiation, introductions and futuristic. The next thing, ladies, is the nighttime calls. Is he only calling you at nighttime? Maybe he's worked all day, or he's saying he's worked all day, so he's tired, so he can only talk to you at like 11 o'clock at night.
Is that booty call action?
Booty call.
Well, you know what? Booty call, that could be booty call, right? But this is why I didn't say booty call, because nowadays these people are slick. So if it's not 2 or 3 in the morning, he will say it's not a booty call. He's just getting home and he's just leaving from the gym. And so he just wants to see you for a little while.
Oh, okay. Enlighten me, okay.
Yeah, so it might end up to something. And because you're not looking for the normal booty call time frame, you might be like, oh girl, it's fine. He just got over. He want to see me real quick. No, don't let anybody real quick you. You are a full time.
Don't let anybody real quick you. Oh my God.
Y'all know real quick.
Whoa.
I'm gonna come through real quick. Well, I want to see you real. No. Real quick can happen when it's dating time too. Like, oh, well, I don't have time to do a full date. Let's just go to this coffee shop real quick. I just want to see you real quick. No. Okay.
Now let me ask you about that, because there's a lot of conversation, especially on TikTok and Instagram, about
I know that conversation very well.
The coffee date, where there's a lot of talk about how women shouldn't look for full dinner dates the first time, that there should be coffee dates the first time. And there is a lot of men and women that are agreeing with the concept. What is your views about first date being coffee date?
All right, let's go back to the theme. The theme is discernment. Tonight's theme is discernment, right? So the only time you're doing a quick coffee date with somebody is if you haven't built up that rapport with them. Why haven't you built up that rapport with them? What is the rush? If you built up a rapport with somebody and they are really interested in you, they will want to take the time, at least definitely an hour or two, to sit you down in the comfort of some nice AC, to sit you down in the comfort of somewhere where he can get to know you a little bit more. So the coffee date is only when somebody wants to real quick you. Okay. So if you're in a rush, then you don't need to go to that coffee date.
Not if you're intense.
And sometimes I believe also is, when you're valuing yourself and you're valuing, what are my standards, right? Sometimes we allow the internet, the television, and these things to build who we are, opposed to establishing, right, who I am. And I think that that's very important. So I'm so glad tonight, April, that you're really giving us some keys to help us do some do's and don'ts regarding dating. So thank you for that.
Yes, you are very welcome. And again, we got to use our discernment, right? Maybe you are just so much into this guy and you just want to see him real quick. But when you give up something real quick, I mean, like your time, not that, but when you give into something real quick, that means you a microwave type of woman. So that means throughout your relationship, that has already set the tone. So the goal is, when you're dating, is to set the tone and set the foundation, which means you have to set your expectations. Allow them to date you the way you want to be dated. Remember, again, the relationship is about you, who you choose, why you choose them, and why you stay in that relationship with them. You don't have to go on those quick coffee dates. Sometimes you might feel like, okay, well, I'm gonna just go see him really quickly, or it's up to you. You have to use your own discernment, but do not allow the influencers online to influence you.
And I think that's the key thing, is that every dating experience is different, right?
Correct.
There's a lot of things to base. Now, I do agree and understand and have learned the science of how men operate in terms of the vasopressin, which is the mating hormone. And I understand that. And but I do think that is the privilege. That is the privilege of being each of us being individual and having individual needs, right? And being able to see ourselves and being okay with, if I do things a little bit differently, I don't always have to be placed in a box, right? To do things the way you do it. I might be a woman. If I'm giving my time I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a mom, right? And so for me, my time is valuable, right? And so because my time is valuable, I have to be and because I'm a mom, right, of two very young children. So I have to be intentional with my time. So if I'm making the time, right, if I already know in the beginning that if I'm looking for a certain type of relationship and my goal is to be married at the end, right, I know that every time we talk, I have to be intentional, because I've been a part of the little small talk conversations. I've been a part of the let's just hook up. I no longer want to be a part of the hookup culture.
Right.
The hookup culture in the situationships is really starting, and I'm realizing it's in the men and women that's over the age of 40 and 50 years old. The younger generation, they're marrying. They're developing them. It is, to me, I found the older generation, from men and women that have been married 2 times, 3, sometimes even 3 times, right? What it is they're looking at, oh, she done took half of my stuff, the other woman done took half, so now I want to have all the benefits of a marriage relationship because I've been in it. I like the benefits of it. I no longer want to be connected to the commitment that comes with it, because I'm 50 years old. If this don't work out and I marry this woman and we wind up not getting along, now now you got people who are really, to me, and this is just my personal opinion, a lot of the toxicity that's coming from relationships is from men and women that are over the age of 40, because they are not taking their experiences and saying, you know what, this marriage didn't work, or this relationship didn't work. Let me work on me so that I can become a better person when I show up in a relationship. No, everybody's coming in with I got my own, you got your own. Okay, well then if that's the case, then just be that person's companion and give that person an option. That's my problem. When you take away my option to choose, if you and what I mean by that, when you're not truthful up front,
Right.
and I tell you that this is, and you're reading my profile on an online dating app, and I tell you that my desire is I'm looking for an intentional dating relationship that eventually leads to marriage. Does not mean I'm expecting you to marry me tomorrow.
Right.
But what it does say is I'm setting the tone to say that I'm intentional even in my dating, right? But what happens is when you start dating people, they trick you, right? And they say, oh yeah, I want that too. I want that too. And then when it comes to the point where you let your guard down because you think, oh great, they want this too. And some people are really good actors. They'll go all the way to the finish line, right? Up until you start. And then after you have opened yourself up, whether it's physically, emotionally or whatever, then what happens, the dynamics of the relationship change. So that's why I put so much emphasis on making sure that you value who you are and what you want, and you go through the vetting process and putting people through the test and saying, okay, what is it that you want? Because and get to see how people love. Because if once you see how people love, you get to decide if you want to be a part of that version of love that they show. Because people use the word everybody love differently. Yeah, they do. But I want to see how you love and get to determine if I want to participate in that type of love.
That's right. That's right. And then I want to talk about what you mentioned, right? Earlier, before the break, we talked about exhausting. So a lot of those people that you mentioned, those 40 plus, those 50 plus, that's because they feel like they have exhausted all of their options. They feel like the dating is exhausting, right? So they don't want to take the steps or take the time to actually find somebody that is compatible, or not even compatible, somebody that is warranted of that love and affection from them, somebody that can help them release their guard, right? And it also comes into a fact of being overwhelmed. Dating today can be overwhelming, right? So you mentioned somebody, maybe they've gone through divorce and they don't want to go through that again. That's overwhelming. So that comes to being able to actually look within and find out what is going on with themselves, where they feel like loving somebody is overwhelming. Why is it exhausting? And then for a lot of the women, that happens with them at that age frame, because it's like, I'm going to take what I can get. It's from a mindset scarcity as opposed to a mindset abundance. So when you open up your mind to abundance and understanding that, you know what, if I just switch my mindset to saying, you know what, I can have the man that I want. The man that I want is, they are all over the place, and just open it up as opposed to, I will never find that type of person. Scarcity mindset, I will have to take what I can get. the universe will open up to you. So when you're dating, when you let your guard down, as you mentioned, Adira, when you let your guard down after telling somebody what you wanted from a committed standpoint, that is of no fault but your own.
Mm-hmm.
That is of no fault but your own. So I think we are letting our guard down too fast, because if you're dating somebody within 30 days and you start letting your guard down, shame on you. Because people have to go through a freaking job probation period longer than that, because traits tend to actually change after that 90-day time frame, right? So when you're dating, know what you're looking for, but outside of knowing what you're looking for, be aware when you see it, and don't turn the other cheek, so that you don't let your guard down. And again, the word of the night is what? Discernment. Use your discernment. If it doesn't seem true or legit, it's probably not true or legit. So in this microwave society, when these people don't want to go out on dates, when they want to do these quick coffee dates or whatever, that's what they got live for. That's what they have Zoom for. You can make your own coffee, right? Your own tea and coffee in the comfort of
yeah, baby, you so fine. Let me do this quick Zoom with you.
Yeah. Come on, let's get together on the Zoom. I just want to see your beautiful, because you know they hit you with that. I just want to see your beautiful face. You know that. Oh God. I just want to meet you. So yeah, so come on, we gotta date smarter. That's really what it boils down to. Date smarter. And think about what you would tell your younger self, right? The person that's dating as a younger version of you. What would you tell that person? And apply that to the way you're dating today. So when you're dating these guys and you see they're not initiating, they're not futuristic, they're not introducing you to anybody, they're calling you at night for those fake nighttime booty calls because they just got off of work, and they're sending you, the standard no emotion text, or they're not sharing a common space with you as far as common practices, and you guys having those things that are compatible with each other, and they're not helping you lighten your load. That's another way you would know. If they're not helping you lighten your load, taking things off your plate to help you live an easier life. And yes, that could be money, right? We all love some money, but I'm talking about just the simple things, right? Let's say you have to take your car somewhere. Can they take your car to be fixed? Even if they don't pay for it, can they drop you off in their car and take your car to be fixed, put you in the Uber? Can they lighten your load, or do you have to figure everything out?
That's that well-being I was talking about.
That's that well-being. Lighten the load, helping you out. Your helpmate. Yeah.
Do I have to always tell you what I need, or can you get to a place that you have spent enough time with me to understand how I communicate my needs and how, because and I'm not saying you got to be a part of the Read My Mind community. I'm just saying that there should be enough time invested. We should be, after a certain, I'm not talking about in the beginning. In the beginning, I'm not expecting you to know everything that there is to know about my life. But what I'm saying is that if once you spent enough time around me and you've gotten to know a little bit about me, there should be some things that you should be able to pick up, right? If right,
discernment.
I like discernment, right? But the thing is, we can't even talk about dating without understanding the foundation of who created relationships, right? God created relationships, and because he created relationships, he's given us guidelines to safeguard us against some of the things that we may face. And I think what happens is, because we don't really understand the full grasp and don't really trust on what God tells us and foretells us about, how to avoid certain types of behaviors and relationships, right? Through relationship with him, what happens is we learn by error, by experience, and then we wind up in situationships, because that's the new thing now. And polygamous relationships, everybody is defining, and I talked about this on another broadcast, that we've redefined marriage. We've redefined, now we're redefining faith. You right now, it's like we're taking our own understanding about what we perceive things to be, and then wonder why we all screwed up. I was on the internet one day, and one of my friends made a post and she said, I'm getting off a dating line. She said, what is a CME? So I started looking up CME and I started looking up, it led me to so many other different types of interpretations of relationships. And I said, what, a unicorn relationship? I said, a unicorn? What the heck? So it's like now your questions have to go beyond, do you like me and I like you? Now are you a unicorn? Do you like polygamy? Do you like this? Are you on the down low? It's not like these people gonna tell you up front, because most of these people are not, they're trying to explain and trying to put a gray area over stuff that you like sitting over here, especially if you like, dang, what the heck? It used to be simple. You like me, I like you, and we hook up. Now it's like, oh, we're not dating, we're just getting to know one another. Oh, I thought we was dating. Oh, no, we just kicking it. Which is what? We kicking it.
Which is what? And I think that gives every.
I'm not committed to. Huh? It's like you got to talk class to understand the terminology of today's dating world.
It's all crazy. And basically what it is all a sham, right? Let's be real. It's all a sham, and there's too many excuses to not be in a committed relationship. Too many excuses to not be in a committed relationship. But what's happening now is that because we're living longer, now a lot of the people who wanted to live free and not have anybody, now they're in the nursing homes by themselves. Now they want to start relationships, or wish they had started relationships. Now they are neglectful because they didn't do it at the time when they were in their prime, and they're dying alone. Not to sound all grim, but we don't want that to happen. That's not why we were created. We were created so that we can have helpmates and be there for each other through love. It's all about love. I mean, it sounds all good, y'all, but really, when you go home at night and you're by yourself, you want one person. You're not looking for Tom, Dick, or Harry to be there. You wish you had one person who was there with you on Christmas. You wish you had one person who cared enough to be by your hospital bedside. You're not thinking about more than one person at that time. You're thinking about one person. So we got to strip the basics. And like you said, you got to ask those questions. Unfortunately, you do have to ask those questions. But more importantly is that you have to pick the right person. Pick the right person. You can pick the right person by referrals. Date somebody who has been referred to you. That's like your own personal matchmaking through friends, family, things of that nature. Date somebody who actually is your coworker, who you know. So we don't have to go all through the world, although those are options too. But start dating smarter is also the key for tonight as well.
And April, what about when men and women say that they're not ready? That they're not ready to commit, or they're not ready to, one of those core values, I'm just not ready. What type of advice would you give in those type of scenarios?
Sure. Well, that's a good question. If they're not ready and you are, now you have to make the decision to choose you and leave, because guess what? They will never be ready as long as you're there, still willing and able to give them everything that you were giving them when they're not ready. So you have to exit stage left. Again, we're not choosing people that don't fit into our lives and what we want. We are in control of the relationship. We are setting the tone and setting the standard for our love life in 2024 and beyond. If they are not ready, I understand. I respect that. Thank you. It was a great time. And of course, it's not going to be that easy if you've been with somebody for a long time. But the goal is to not be with somebody for a long time before you finally ask them and they tell you that they're not ready.
Mm-hmm.
But
even through that time process, do you believe we've gotten some hints, some signs? This person is probably already
signs. There are always some signs. So think about what I said: initiating, futuristic. Are they introducing you to people? Do they share a common mission with you? So there are always signs along the way, but we choose to not hear the signs. We choose to not see the signs. There are always signs along the way. And really, when you got to get to the point of asking somebody, that means you're begging them. And we don't want to be begging anybody to be with us. You're the prize. We want the man to be like, oh my God, I just love you so much. I enjoy spending time with you. I can't see myself without you. I would really like to grow and extend this relationship. I would love for you to be my woman. This is when you're dating, right? I would love for you to be my woman. And then a year later, and maybe even 6 months later, he's like, oh my God, I love you. I would love for you to be my wife. So
because we know men take them, because we know men don't take a long time to determine what they like. The only time they take a long time is when they playing around and they having fun in the street, and then they realize at the end of the day, uh-oh, I done been out here. I thought the grass was greener on the other side, when the grass is only greener where you water it.
That's right. They playing around and they're playing you. So they're just hanging out for no reason. They just want to see how far they're gonna take it, how far you're gonna allow them to take it.
And sometimes those coffee breaks, what you were talking about, is they're trying to fit 3 people into that day. So that's why I got to coffee break you, coffee break her, so that I can put everyone into that day. You know what I mean?
They want to put everybody into that day, and let's be real, they're sizing you up. They're sizing you up. They want to see
if you have
what you're working with, right? They want to see. So they want to see if coffee break A is better than coffee break B, or coffee break B is better than coffee break C, or C is better than A. So they're sizing you up. But
it still goes back to what you said, is being able to know what you want. At the core, if you don't take the time to determine, and I like this question that Gail asked, she says that men are not open about women and about being bisexual. And it's true. It's like before, back in the day, you didn't have to ask these questions. You know, you didn't have to really, you still needed discernment, but the culture created the questions, the behavior, it dictated the behavior of the men and women during that time frame. You know, back then they got married because they had to. Women didn't have the opportunity to work. We couldn't do anything. Now we get the opportunity to marry for love. They didn't marry for love back then. They married to survive.
For stability, yes.
For stability. Now we marry, we get to choose love and get to have the benefits of stability and all the other things. But I think the key thing is, it goes back to now you have to, because you live in a different time, you can't just go by what people say. You have to watch what they do. You have to see if people are the unicorns. You know, are they into polygamy? You know, are they bisexual? Are they on a down low? And they're not going to always tell you that. Sometimes you just have to observe them, and you have to use discernment, and you have to ask God to show you, right? And be open to what he shows you, because sometimes he does give us the clues in the red flags, but we'd be like, is that pink or red?
Is it pink or red? Yeah, definitely. Okay. And then don't forget, ladies, we have, like, this is the time where we have the most information right at our fingertips. Use that information for your good. Do some research. Go into that rabbit hole if you need to, if you're interested in somebody, just to see, what you can find on social media about them, or what you can find about their former address or relationships, because it is hard. It is definitely hard. But now we're kind of like in the best of both worlds right now, because we have so much information at our fingertips. But we can also decide for ourselves, as opposed to just marrying for stability, like you mentioned, Adira.
And I think
I wanted to.
I'm sorry.
I apologize. So I wanted to, for some people, they may not understand what discernment is.
Okay.
What is discernment? Because some people, they may say, well, what, she keeps saying discernment. What is that? Where is it activated from? Where is it developed from? Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, the Holy Spirit, and we all have it within us. It's the Holy Spirit. It's when, to make it easy, it's like that inner voice within you that speaks to you, that tells you, hey, this doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. That's the Holy Spirit within you. That is the voice of reason that you have to use in your life, right? A lot of times you hear that voice, but you ignore that voice. And what happens? It doesn't work out well for you, right? So when you listen to that voice, the initial voice that you hear, that's the one that you want to go with. And that is something that was sent by God and instilled in you. So the more you get closer to the Lord, the more you do your Bible studies, the more you take time by yourself, the more you meditate, the more you just get into your word, the stronger you will develop that discernment or that relationship with your Holy Spirit.
And also with discernment, that's not something that you can see with the physical eye, right? So you have to not look at what you see, right? Because, people put on a good presentation. You have to really go by what you know. Like, what am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I smelling? Like, what am I touching? Like, you have to activate those things within you that are developed from the Holy Spirit, because it says that the Holy Spirit will bring all things to remembrance, right? And it will guide you to truth, right? So if you're on a date and that person is not being consistent with truth, well, you told me yesterday that we were going to do this. Oh, well, my situation changed and this happened and I wasn't able to, you know what I mean? Like, you got to look past what you see and go by what you know. Like, base everything on truth. Like, if this person is lying to me now, imagine what's going to happen once we really get into a committed relationship. So these are things that sometimes we're so happy-go-lucky in the flesh, right? We're so excited because of that desperation of really wanting somebody to we really miss the true signs that God is saying, I love you so much. I need you to go in and I need you to listen loudly. I need for you to really just take a moment to hear what that person is doing. Take a moment to see how this person is moving. How does that person act? Like, is this something that you can deal with? Because I believe, in a dating situation, a person really presents to you how they would be married. Like, is this what you want to be married to? So I just think that that's important. Thank you for clarifying what discernment meant.
That was well said. That was well said. I loved your explanation of it for sure.
Wow, this has been really amazing. And for those of you who have been joining us, I'm telling you, this has been. I'm going to show her April's actual website for those of you that are interested in watching. April has been here it is. She's a relationship coach. For those of you that are that haven't heard of her, she has relationship resources, best in new places to meet single men in 2024, and living your best love life with these 4 steps. Wow. How to build powerful relationship for fulfilling life. So if you guys are interested in, wow, she has it looks like you have some sort of, she said, I want results. So this looks like April is one. She has services that are available. She has special signature services. If you guys need help with relationship coaching, you can learn about that. She has exclusive member benefits. And So Long Single, Lady Single Night Sword. Tell us a little bit about some of the services that you offer here that we're looking at on the website.
Sure. Well, thanks for putting in my website. You guys can go there to get some free resources or paid resources. So what you're looking at now is the relationship coaching program. So the relationship coaching program that I offer is my signature program. It's called So Long Single. And it's for women that have been single for a while and are ready to step into their married season. Maybe you've been dating but haven't been able to find that perfect one because of just different obstacles that you're going through. Or maybe you're only the type of person who you get the dates, right? But you only go on one date and then you never hear from the guy again. So I help you get to the end result to live your best love life using different strategies and different types of tips that I offer. Some of these strategies come from my book. They come from my experience, and they just come from my vast knowledge in relationship coaching. So I have 2 programs for that. I have a group program as well as a single program for the So Long Single, or you can even just pick my brain for like 30 minutes. If you have a whole bunch of questions or you're in a situation, you're like, you know what, I need an expert opinion. And then I also have the So Long Single Soiree. Now, the So Long Single Soiree is pretty much a relationship group coaching in the privacy of your own home. So it's like you and your girlfriends, we get together. It's kind of like a Mary Kay party where you kind of like, have fun with your girlfriends. We have some beverages, we have some food, and we just talk all things relationships. That's when I give you some content. I give you a workbook so you can actually work through some of the different obstacles that you might be facing. And by the time you leave that soiree, not only did you have a good night with your girls, you also got some great relationship feedback as well to implement immediately. That's for the So Long Single Soiree. And then we also have our member events. So the member events is where I do singles events as well as couples events, because once you become a couple, right, you still want to hang out with other couples, because that allows you to strengthen and grow your relationship just by being around other supportive couples. And I think that's really important to add, because a lot of times on social media, people will have you believing that people don't get married anymore, that people in marriages hate each other, that marriages fail. So it's important to be around marriages, successful marriages, happy marriages, where individuals still like each other.
That's really amazing, April. Just to see how God is really using you in so many aspects of relationships, and how you're really pouring into, being transparent, to be able to sacrifice and give yourself so that the world can be blessed. Like, this is very inspirational. And, we look forward to doing more with you. We just really see that you have developed, as a wonderful woman, and I'm so excited for you. And also, I don't know if you guys have seen April. She's also been on TV. Like, the last one you did was Valentine's Day, right?
Yes, it was Valentine's Day. It was on the CBS.
Oh, yes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, that was on CBS. That was for around the Valentine's Day area. It was just different ways and opportunities for you to date safe. Maybe you're dating online, or maybe you started a new relationship and you want to meet somebody. So I dropped a whole bunch of nuggets and things that you can do to actually date safe, and some of the things that you should look out for when entering into a new relationship. So outside of that, I've also been featured on the CW, the Black News Channel, countless other periodicals, as well as magazines. And just, I enjoy helping people. And I'm so glad that I can be looked at as an expert, because it's my passion. It's what I do. I feel like, if I learned how to come over from the other side, then you can too. So it's just my goal to help women succeed in life and love. I love working with female entrepreneurs and corporate queens, those who are actually, just striving and are busy, but also want love as well. And I love to incorporate, the religious aspects of it as well, because it's something that we all need, that structure. So if you guys are looking to date in, your faith, you want to be compatible in your faith, you should definitely read 2 Corinthians 6:14. You can also, if you want mutual support in your spiritual growth, you got to read Proverbs 27:17. There are so many great verses for you to just sink yourself into and get the word, because if you want your relationship to work, you got to have that foundation, and you can't have that foundation without putting God first.
That's amazing. And I think that that's what's really happening. And even in our platform, we're really striving and we're fighting to put God first. Like, a lot of the, no disrespect to anyone, but sometimes things are so watered down, right? To there's no penetration, right? And sometimes when you bring truth, which comes from the word, that causes you to really, look in that mirror, to, really begin to do that self-check, be more aware and to do those things. But, if you're just going with the norm and, what trend is going now, a lot of times, we're just running, we're looking for this or that. So one of the things that we really build our foundation on here at Sisterhood Check-in is the foundation of, God first,
Right.
Also, expounding on that, we talk about the Godhead, which is God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. So, it is so important to not only invest in your hair, your nails, how you look physically, but if you're not investing in your spiritual growth, that really causes death. So I'm so excited that you were able to really bring life tonight, just to give another perspective on how, we should date, the do's and the don'ts. So I really thank you tonight for partnering with us, for, allowing your passion to be exuded through the Sisterhood Check-in. So thank you very much.
Yes, it was my pleasure. I'm so glad that I can be here. And listen, I have a download for you guys. If you guys want to add it to your Sisterhood Check-in, maybe add a link later, I'll be happy to share that with you, because I want you ladies and gents, if we have someone on the call, I want you guys to get the most useful information that you possibly could and walk away with the new way of thinking so that you can implement these relationship tips and strategies so you can have the best relationship results. Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure to be here. I look forward to being on again with you guys, and it was a joy.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. And for those of you, thank you so much, Gail, for joining us and engaging. Thank you to each and every one of you that continue to support Sisterhood Check-in each and every Friday. We don't want to go without letting you know how much we appreciate your support. And we are looking forward to having more moments with April Carter and her expertise. Have you guys had fun? I know I did. Have you learned something?
I did.
Put it in the comments and let me know if you have learned something today. And if you're watching us on the replay, let me tell you, all I could say is you should have been here in the beginning. But if you are watching us on the replay, make sure you put #replay. April, my question to you is, before we actually wrap up, there's a lot of different coaches that are out here doing relationship coaches, and it's amazing. It's a breath of fresh air to see more women that are doing it, because now there's been a trend of more men doing it. What would you say separates you from any other relationship coach? What is the distinctiveness that you carry as a relationship coach that makes your services unique than any other coach that's out here?
Sure. Well, besides my winning personality.
All right now.
What makes me different and sets me apart is, first of all, my marriage, right? I'm happily married for over 14 years the second time around. So I've been there, done that. And then the second thing I would say that I really pride myself on is not just talking about, what you're doing wrong, is but actually showing you how to do it right, giving you those step by step ways to actually implement it into your relationship, because it's all about execution. You could know what you're doing wrong, but do you know how to do it right? So that's what sets me apart.
Wow.
And that I can agree on. I can agree on that, because I talked to April briefly about a relationship that I was in. And I believe that her niche is that she's able to identify the problem and then also give you a solution. Some people can always, like she say, tell you everything that you did wrong, but they're not able to provide a solution. And then she's also willing, not only able, but she's willing to help walk you through the process so that you can be successful. And I think that that's another one of her niches. She really, truly in her heart loves and has a passion for God's people and people in general.
People in general.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that makes a difference, being able to have a coach that you can, because there are so many different coaches in the area of relationships. So it's a breath of fresh air to have somebody that not only has a spiritual background, which means the foundation of your belief matters and how you communicate your solutions. So it's a breath of fresh air to be able to have somebody that's a woman that understands what women go through as single women, and with you being married, give us the encouragement to know that there is still hope, and that God
and one more thing about April. I felt led to say this. Her confidentiality is huge.
I'm very big on confidentiality, for sure.
And I'm telling you, I know April knows some things about me. And even her posture towards me, it's like, I don't even, you know what I mean? Like her passion and her love for people. Like some people treat you how or whatever you expose to them, right? They treat you in a certain way, but her confidentiality is amazing. She is really a coach that you can trust, and I think that that's one of her niches as well.
Thank you for saying that, and that's something I pride myself on. Absolutely, that's super important. You want to build that trust as well.
Absolutely. Well, April, it's been a pleasure. We are at the end of our broadcast, and I am so grateful. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Let us not be the first and last time that you have us here. And if you guys, again, want more information on the services that April actually has, make sure you visit her website down at the bottom, www.apralacarter.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. April, stay backstage so that we can do a briefing and do some more chatting if you have time. And for those of you watching, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later on in TikTok, because Tasha is going to make sure that I'm going to be up for TikTok. Let me tell you something, y'all.
Absolutely.
You joined us on TikTok last week. We had over 6,000 views from people that joined us and really appreciate the conversation. So I'm excited.
And we were even talking about healing the right way.
Yes.
And healing, it's about being sound, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. So it was really a blessing. And it even helped me like be more aware of some things. So I'm excited to go on TikTok, right after this. And we just, check us out on TikTok. We look forward to seeing you guys.
All right, until next time, have an amazing weekend.
Good night.